Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we continue this Slumber Party Horror Movie Massacre Month here on the Retro Blood, talking slashers, talking teenagers, talking driller killers, talking 80s dance party girls going wild out there, because we're going to be talking on this episode all about the Slumber Party Massacre 2. That's right. If y'all like girl bands, if y'all like dreams, they're not like Nightmare on Elm Street, but I guess like that's what they were going for some reason. If y'all like teenage drama, if y'all like Freddy Krueger's Son of Sam Elvis guitar killer guys, then this is a review for you, because we're talking the Slumber Party Massacre 2. James Cline on here for another solo show. Jay Allison's out this month. We wish him the best out there recovering. And you know, all of you asking, no, he is not near the same facility that Valerie was in, even though I'm pretty sure if he watched this one with me, he would be very close, like I was, to actually checking ourselves into that particular facility, because boy, this movie was a little rough on this one. Like, you know, I knew watching this film that it was going to be a little different than the first one, because, you know, just by checking out the two posters, you can just tell right away that the first one, you know, we talked about last week, it was supposed to be like a spoof, but they kind of reworked it to make it more serious, which I thought they did a great job when they did that aspect of it, to make it, you know, obviously it was the most serious movie I've ever seen. There was some comedy bits into it, but it had a lot more serious tone. This one, on the other way, we're just throwing that shit away, brothers. This is 1988, straight to video shit or something. All right, released. All right, we're just we're communing this one up, brother, because, you know, the first one had these scary girls with a drill right there looking like a penis, and then this one we just have some girls and this rock guy with this, obviously it's just like, what is this? So, but you know, I could see there's some charm to this movie, but it's very stretch of how they did a sequel to it in a way. So, but we'll talk all about it, how they came up with the idea of Slumber Party Massacre 2. And then, of course, I'll do my full review of the movie as well, too. Usually on the show, we do a history segment where we talk all about what's happening in the world of pro wrestling and metal music. I'm saving that for this month because of, you know, Allison, our messiah of all 80s metal and horror movie trivia, is out for this month. So I really like to bounce ideas off him when it comes to metal and pro wrestling on here. So we're skipping that for this month, but it will return, everybody. So, you know, I want to talk about a little bit more of the who booked this shit when it comes to the Slumber Party Massacre 2. So this one was directed by Deborah Brock, okay? And it was very interesting about how this movie came to be. So basically, and the reason I found out all this stuff is I couldn't really find too much stuff online, but on the actual 4K that I bought, that I said I bought last week, remember I had Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2, they had an interview with the cast and with Deborah herself and everything about how this movie came to be. So basically, Roger Corman, he had this movie, you know, basically he was just telling her like, hey, I have this movie, Slumber Party Massacre 2, that I could sell off to anybody, brother. She's like, okay, well, let me see the script. It's like, well, there ain't no script. If you take the movie on, you can write it and you could direct it, and I could just sell it, no problem, because of the name. And she's like, okay, well, fuck it. Okay. So the movie working title for a while was going to be Don't Let Go. All right. So they kind of, you know, so while they were making this film, they kind of wanted to keep it Don't Let Go, because they felt like that was a more broader title that you can sell to marketing. You know what I mean? Like, you can, like, I'm not talking about like the movie studios. I'm talking about like the advertisement you can do with it, because they had advertisement when it comes to Pepsi, chicken. So they just felt like, you know, Don't Let Go would have been an easier title to sell off to sponsors and stuff to try to help fund some of the movie than Slumber Party Massacre 2. Okay? So, but obviously Slumber Party Massacre 2, it did get picked up by the New Concord. All right? And which, there's a couple interesting stuff about this. So, obviously during this particular time in the 80s, a lot of teenager, young adult slasher films were big. Like we talk about all the time. Now, I feel like the slasher films, right when it hit like 1985, 1986, start going downhill, we start seeing more shit like this, where it's all like, oh, we could come up with any corny idea and people will buy it. All right? So, but because they made this movie basically $500,000, but they made like $1 million at the box office. So, they made a profit off this movie. But, obviously got a lot of negative reviews because, a lot of people were, they was getting a lot of negative reviews because obviously it basically was like if you take the supernatural elements of a Nightmare on Elm Street, all right, and it didn't have like the wit to it. It didn't have like the style of like how obviously how he creatively haunted people's nightmares. This driller killer was basically just going around looking like an evil Elvis, all right, with the drill on shit on there, trying to kill people. So, but obviously I guess she thought it was a good idea to write all this stuff too. I couldn't really figure out what else she did. They didn't really talk about too much about that, this Deborah Brock style. But, obviously we see Roger Corman. He has been, one of the producers of many, many horror films throughout this time. So the release date of this film was October 16th, 1987. Unlike this release date where this came out, May 12th, 2024. That's right. You guys thought I was going to forget, didn't you? Today is Mother's Day. And I'm giving you guys the Mother's Day present of them all, talking teenager slasher movies over here on the Retro Blood. How do y'all like that? So, but a couple of things. So, the cast is a little interesting too. I think the biggest one, there's two of the cast that kind of stood out to me. The first one was the girl who played Amy, which Kimberly MacArthur. She is known to be a lady who actually posed for Playboy in 1982. Okay, she was Miss January. All right, and she was also the ghost lady too in Ghostbusters, the first one. All right, so she's doing her thing on here. We have Crystal Bernard on here who played Courtney, our main girl on here, Courtney. So we're following the storyline from the first movie. The only two parts with it were having the character Courtney and Valerie come back. And of course, they're both played by two different actresses on this movie. Because we see an older Courtney and then we see Valerie just totally played by somebody else. So this wasn't the actress Crystal Bernard's first movie. Looks like that one's Young Doctors in Love. So she went for, I like how she went from Young Doctors in Love, Master Ninja 2 to Slumber Party Massacre 2. Oh, there you go. Just got to get those twos going on. But she looks like she's had a pretty good career. Most of these movies I haven't seen before. But yeah, there you go. And apparently she did some singing too. So keeping the gimmick alive with her girl band on here. But the one of them, the interesting one I wanted to bring up was Mrs. Bates, who played Courtney's mom. Now in the first movie, we didn't really see Valerie or Courtney's mom at all, but they did bring up their parents a little bit. They said their parents got divorced. That's the only thing we heard about the parents on there. But Jennifer Rhodes that played the mom on here is actually like a little bit of a scream queen herself, because she was actually in a couple horror films even before Slumber Party Massacre 2. She was in Night Creature as Georgia, and she was in Halloween as a uncredited psycho ward nurse. So have a couple of extra roles. Of course, she played the mom on this one. And then what I kind of knew her as is that she was in a 1994 sequel to one of my favorite movies that we actually did on here on the Retro Blood Halloween edition. You can find it on the archives and on YouTube. Night of the Demons. She was in Night of the Demons 2, playing one of the nuns. Everybody check out the Lights Out podcast. Also, too, a little plug on here. The Lights Out podcast is when me and Allison, we go out of the 80s, brother. We go to the DeLorean and we get out of the 80s and we talk all about, different movies, different wrestling stuff that happened outside the 80s, different movies and stuff. So probably one of these days we'll do Night of the Demons too, because that movie is very interesting, especially for a sequel. Very interesting. But, this movie also was interesting as well too, because when it comes to the music that was on here. So, and how it worked out was the Miss Brock over here, she was like, I'm making this girl band. You know what I mean? Because this film, she wanted to obviously portray, female power, female, sticking together, female sisters, which I got it, seeing the whole script that way. But she wanted to show a lot of that. And she found a female band called Wednesday Weekend. All right. And they're the ones that she basically just called them all up. You know what I mean? Because this is a low budget film. They didn't have too many, production cast to go out and find people and buy rights and stuff. So she just called them up, say, hey, you guys want to play some songs on my horror movie? And they're like, yeah, fine. So yeah, that's how they got pretty much them to appear on this movie by using some of their songs that the girls were singing on this particular film. All right, we got some breaking news here on the podcast today. One legendary producer, director, semi-actor, content creator himself, the B horror movie legend or B movie legend himself, the Pope of pop cinema, the spiritual godfather of the new Hollywood, and the king of cult himself, Roger Corman, has sadly passed away at the age of 98. And wow, I mean, what a storied career this man has had. We have talked about him on this podcast, because, when we cover a lot of these 80s B horror movies on here, he's known to have done a lot of them. But his career is spanning all the way from like the 50s all the way up to, maybe later on 2000s and stuff. It just, with him directing a lot of his movies in the 50s, to him producing, a ton of movies, to him, basically co-founding New World Picture, which is like half the movies that we do are probably from New World Pictures on here, to doing New Concord Pictures as well. When they did that around 1985, that's where Slumber Party Massacre 2 was picked up. And of course, he's been all over these episodes that we've been doing lately on the podcast, because he did produce the first Slumber Party Massacre, and he produced this one, the Slumber Party Massacre 2 on here. But his career, it spans he's known to, give a lot of, directors, young actors, a lot of exposure in Hollywood. You can just name, Robert De Niro, he helped him out. Martin Scorsese, he helped him out. You could launch the careers of Jack Nicholson, Bruce Dean, William Shatner. His stamp in Hollywood is definitely, vast. All right. And he was the guy that you can show that you can make a pretty good, successful franchise on a low budget. All right. Like, just because the film doesn't have, thousands and thousands and thousands of money thrown on it, doesn't mean it's going to be, not that great at all. He's made plenty of films that are on a low budget that are like cult favorites and cult classics to this day. He also, he did some acting on here. He's in The Godfather Part 2, The Silence of the Lambs, Apollo 13. All right. He's been on a couple different, roles, because all the directors that directed those movies knew him, because he helped them out earlier in their career. So they're like, okay, yeah, just come on board. We can act you and do a part over here and stuff. It's just really amazing. Just the vast influence, to talk this man's career. You probably need like a 3 or 4 hour, podcast on here just to talk the many aspects of his career. When me and Allison are on here, we do 80s horror movies. And of course, a big 80s horror movie that Roger Corman is known for is Humanoids from the Deep, brother, 1980. One of the very low budget style 80s movies that comes to mind that he's done, working with the many production companies that he had during the 80s, which is obviously, New World. He would work with them. So, the New World Pictures, obviously he got a lot of that going from those, kind of like, what do you call them? Like the kind of like the Death Rider, not, okay, so like the Death Rider style movies, or where we have like Killer Cars or Killer Racing, and he got very popular of directing like those style movies. That's why when they brought when they did that the Grindhouse movies, all right, that's why they kind of brought back the Death Rider, because those are kind of very well known in like the 70s and stuff, about and 60s and 70s, to have those killer car movies. And that's where they kind of like really built it up from there. And he just done like a vast, you just name it. Kind of like, whatever is kind of like getting over at the time. Mostly in the 80s, he did, like I said, Humanoids from the Deep. Okay. Because, obviously, the first Alien, 1979, was a huge success. So, what you would do is you would see success in Hollywood, and then you would make like, a replica of it in a way. You know what I mean? Not necessarily like, we don't want to copy every little detail, but we're going to make a replica of it. So that's probably where Humanoids from the Deep came, because there was such a big craving for, galaxy terror, I guess you could say, at the time. Roger is also known for a lot of his movies. I got to bring it up. He did a lot of Edgar Allan Poe style movies, adapted from them. He did another big budget film he produced. It was Battle Beyond the Stars, 1981, because of the big success that the Star Wars films. That's actually one of the biggest films he actually produced at the time, because of all the special effects they were putting into it. He obviously, when he had the little scalpel with New World, he created his own company, Millennium Films, first. All right, because he sold his shares to New World Pictures in January of 1983. All right, and so after this one, he did Love Letters, Amy Holds Jones, Screwballs, Porky's Siberia. He did Death Stalkers. All right. And then basically what happened was, Corman says people struggled with the name Millennium, so nobody could spell it. Nobody knew what it meant. So he changed it to New Horizons by the end of 1984. You know what I mean? Got to be a little easier. And then from New Horizons, that's when we would get, School Spirit, Wheels on Fire, and of course, the Slumber Party Massacre would be on there too. All right, so, and he basically, and then he would form that to get, he basically would form New Horizons into Concord Pictures. All right, and because he would pretty much get guaranteed distribution. Okay, so the case with New World settled out of courts in March 1985. So basically, what happened is, Corman argued my whole point in selling was to free myself of the burden of running the company and to get guaranteed distribution. If I couldn't get guaranteed distribution, I'm forced to go back to running the company. Okay? Because Corman said, Corman bypassed New World for some of his films, such as Columbia's Hard Bodies. All right? So, so Concord basically would give him guaranteed distribution. So that's why he started to go with them. So he said in March of 1985, Corman announced he would establish a new distribution cooperative, Concord Pictures, where producers could get relatively cheap distribution from Concord in exchange for contributing to the company's overhead. The first releases were Corman's production School Spirit, Wheels of Fire, and Barbarian Queen. Concord later merged with the low-budget production company Cinema Group and announced plans to make 15 to 20 films a year. Okay, and some of the early Concord releases included Loose Screws, a sequel to Screwballs, Street Walking, a more serious drama directed by John Freeman, Cocaine Wars, and the first series of movies Corman would finance in South America, Hour of the Assassins. All right, so obviously he also did Munchkins as well too, which we'll be talking about here soon on the podcast. And of course, he also remade Not on This Earth, Big Mama 2, Big Bad Mama 2, my bad. He also did, Sweet Revenge, and of course, Slumber Party Massacre 2. All right. And he also gave, our director for this Slumber Party Massacre 2, Deborah Brock, her start. And he gave her free roam to not only direct the film, but also write it as well, too, like I was saying earlier. And he also gave her another film, too, later on in that same year, Andy Colbin's Incredible Adventures. So a lot of this stuff, he's I think that basically he's pretty much just known to, mostly in the 80s, he was kind of just known to, be the big producer behind these, three companies that he basically co-founded and started. And he was just really known to work, help a lot of young directors, a lot of actors, a lot of, producers, and pretty much everybody out by making a shit ton of films basically for a year. 15 to 20. I throughout his whole career, I think he's he has to be credited with over 500 to 600 films. And the big thing about his, production companies, obviously, like I was saying, they were working with a very low budget. So a lot of the times when they'd be filming, he would just recycle things from different movies to use for movies. They did that with this Slumber Party Massacre. They did that with a ton of different movies. They would use props and stuff from other movies to make these other movies to keep the cost very down. Because, at this time, that's the kind of the beauty of low budget B movies is you can make a great story without having to spend a lot of money, but you get a really good big return. That's why a lot of producers, directors, writers, that's why they gravitate towards horror. Because horror, you can make a pretty decent horror movie and not have to break the budget and get a very high return on it. So, obviously Roger Corman saw that, and he had so much success with his already, directing, in the 50s and the 60s, and he basically would show companies that, what he has, not all of it would probably turn to gold, but what his approach to selling and working with Hollywood, definitely opened the eyes for a lot of, independent directors, a lot of different directors to have their vision out there and, not have to break the bank on every movie. We don't have to have a freaking, nowadays it'd be fucking $2 billion movie or whatever. It just has a bunch of special effects everywhere and everybody's going to love it. We can have, it kind of reminds me of, take Terrifier. I'm pretty sure, obviously the budget is, it's probably not like how this movie was, 500,000. You know what I mean? It's probably a little bit more than that. But, obviously, Terrifier, it probably didn't cost as much as, I would say, one of those Marvel movies. You know what I mean? Or even in horror, it probably doesn't cost as much as making a Halloween. You know what I mean? Because of all the people you have to bring in. But it just shows that very B, style movies can get a big cult following, and you could pretty much make a career off of doing low budget films, all right, and make a lot of return off your investment. And which is cool about it, you can pump out a bunch of movies as well too. And I think, Roger Corman has shown that with all his producing style. And, there is so much stuff this guy has done. It is crazy, I'll just skim it through. Like I said, this is kind of breaking news on here on the podcast. I actually had the whole podcast done. I got to come back on here and talk about it because, obviously, we talk about, New World Pictures all the time. We talk about Concord Pictures all the time. We talk about Roger Corman all the time because, he did, he wasn't just only doing horror movies. He did all kinds of genre. He did serious, he did galaxy, he did, the horror, he did, action. He did all kinds of different genre, but it is really cool to see that he, when he has, a plethora of stuff he directed and produced, right on this show. It's pretty impressive, and what definitely a legendary career. And I think his legacy is definitely showing that you can make very fantastic movies on a low budget that have a big cult following here in the end. But there's so much stuff that he's done. Like even in the 90s, he did the Roger Corman Presents, a special series of 13 movies for Showtime and budgets of around, 1.5 million each. All right. And the Corman he named means action, horror, and some titillation. So, obviously, he's known for, doing these low budgets, style B-horror movies that get over. Okay. And it's just wild to think, of all the stuff that he had his hands in when it comes to all these movies. It is pretty impressive out here. But yeah, I mean, definitely a very storied career. I know there is a documentary out there about his career too that probably goes a little bit more detail than I can give you all here on this podcast. But we're gonna still keep talking about his movies on here. We definitely are gonna be talking Humanoids of the Deep. That's actually one we've been we've been trying to do that one for a while on here. We just gotta fit it in for a good month on here. I know that movie has a little controversy behind it as well too. So that should be a very interesting discussion that we're going to be talking about on here. But yeah, I mean, definitely just a vast career. I mean, it is just amazing of how much, stuff this man has, directed, produced, inspired. He's helped so many famous directors out here nowadays, famous, writers, producers. He just helped so much to shape Hollywood as we see it now by his vision of making these movies, making these movies that are not necessarily the most, high budget films, but definitely have a very charm to them. So rest in peace, Roger. We appreciate everything you have done and all these movies in Hollywood, and your legacy will live on through many means. Your movies on here will live on through everything, and we'll keep talking about him on the Retro Blood podcast. But yeah, I mean, obviously we had some other bands at this time when they were singing that Tokyo Conversion song on here as well too. But yeah, I mean, this movie, like I said, I don't think it was really hitting for me. You know what I mean? It just, something about comedy movies, I don't want to seem like me and Alice are just not about the comedy. I think if there's comedy that's done well in horror films, and they're just not. And my biggest thing is, I don't think you should make your killer, your antagonist, your dream demon character. You can't make him goofy. And that's what I think of the biggest thing about this film was just the fucking rock driller dude was just so goofy. His goofy guitar, his goofy trying to be like Elvis, saying all these lines. It wasn't scary, just goofy. It kind of made me want to laugh at him. Or not even laugh at him, just cringy. It's just a little cringy. All right. But you know what? I can see why this has a cult following. It is very corny. It is very 80s. It's very something. But has a sequel, it's just very interesting. Like I was saying before, I think even this the Miss Brock and everything, she I got the sense of feeling she kind of didn't want to make it Slumber Party Massacre 2. She kind of just wanted to make it her own thing. But, obviously they got the distribution rights from having that name on it. All right, so that's why they had to kind of keep up with the storyline and that purpose. But yeah, I mean, it has some moments to it that I thought were okay. But, but hey, I say, let's just talk about it. That's all we got to do, guys. Let's just talk about it and see if we can escape the same mental hospital that we just put ourselves into as well too by watching Slumber Party Massacre 2. But let's get into it, guys. Let's see what it's all about.
Catch the stars with Embassy. If you saw Slumber Party Massacre, you'll never forget the driller killer. Courtney won't. She survived. The good news is she knows he's dead. The bad news is she thinks he's back.
He's dead.
Reincarnated just in time for Halloween comes Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Yoo-hoo! I'm home.
And the party won't begin until the lights go out.
Now it's time for the fun part.
With blood-curdling realism from the special effects team who gave us The Thing and House.
It hurts like hell.
Sally!
A terrifying cross between Nightmare on Elm Street and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Does this look like a dream to you? Does it?
And to celebrate the release of Slumber Party Massacre 2, Embassy is offering Slumber Party Massacre 1 at the newly reduced price of just $19.95. So have a petrifyingly profitable Halloween. Warehouse ship date October 21st.
All right. So we start off with some soft music, brother. Oh, okay. We're getting the scene going on, quickly. And this is basically where we meet Courtney, and she's dreaming. She does a lot of that in this movie. All right? A ton of that. All right? So she's dreaming, and she's basically dreaming of I like my notes here. She's dreaming of a topless 80s football guy. All right? Which we're going to find out his name is Matt. All right? And then the dream turns to scenes from the first movie, added in with, not the drill killer, but the new killer with his cowboy leather boots. All right. And now we have some speeding going on during the hallway. And then we get the opening title of Slumber Party Massacre 2. So we have Mrs. Bates. She's telling Courtney that the doctor is saying that Valerie, she is doing a little bit better. So now we're figuring out right at the beginning that this girl that we're seeing is Courtney from the first movie, and she is a little bit more grown now. She's like I guess I don't know. I wasn't sure how old she is in the actual first movie. Maybe 14. I'm guessing because on here they said she's about to be her birthday, and she's 17. Okay. So Valerie now she cannot get she has trauma, all right, from the incident that happened all those years ago with Ross, the original drill killer. She is now stuck in this mental hospital during the whole time too. And Courtney's just saying that she's had these dreams before, but she's okay. She feels like she's okay, and she doesn't really want to talk to the doctor about the dreams. And now she's going through some old newspapers. So now we're establishing that this is Courtney. This is our sequel from the Slumber Party Massacre 2. And now she's leaving for school. Now she sees a dead bird, which looks so stiff. Couldn't believe this thing. But then again, some birds are stiff when they die. You know what I mean? Come on, guys. I'm not some zoo expert or something. All right. So now her friend picks her up. Okay. And her friend Amy picks her up. Our Kimberly girl, our Playboy girl on here picking her up, Amy. And they're talking about her seeing a dead bird and how she's weird. Then they randomly start singing this song, Tokyo Converter. All right. And I actually did look it up, some of the songs they had off this, which was really interesting. So, like I was saying before, we had some, when they were doing their girl band, they were basically doing this band Wednesday week songs on here. And then we had Tokyo Converter from the Man Alive album. All right. So we're adding some real music flair to this particular show. So they're singing the song and everything, and then Matt pulls up, and they get all nervous about Matt and everything, and basically they invite Matt to go watch them play their band practice after school. Okay, so now they're going to be meeting after school. They're going to be meeting around like 4 o'clock after school. They also talk about that their friend Sheila, for the weekend, is going to rent out her new dad's house. So I guess Sheila's dad and mom are split up, and the dad got his own house, and they're going to be going there for the weekend. And Amy and all them are going to invite some guys, so they think that Courtney should go invite Matt to the hangout too at Sheila's house. All right, because there's going to be no parents there. All right, so now we see some of them practicing. All right, and they're singing their Wednesday week song on there, looking all happy, smiling for the camera that's not there. Matt shows up, likes what they're singing, everything, talks to Courtney. This is where she invites him to come out to the Sheila's house, and he just really wants to kiss her. And like, she's all like, "Well, I know what you heard, but I'm not a bad girl." And he's all like, "I'm not kidding. I know you're not." It's just really weird. Like this, like it made it seem like at first like Matt maybe was like the like he would turn or something, but no, he was just, I guess, just weird. So he calls her later and stuff. He said he'll call her later. All right, and this is when we get another part of the band, Sally. She's like the very surfer blonde type of girl. She's on here, and we get her saying like, "Oh, I know what Courtney's gonna get for her birthday, a boyfriend." Ha ha ha. There we go. So now Courtney needs to ask the mom if she can go to the party. All right. And the mom's like, well, you know, she kind of blows it off like, hey, Courtney tries to say like, hey, Sheila's dad has the house that she just bought. And then the mom just kind of blows it off. She's like, well, you know, I think we should go visit your sister this weekend. And Courtney doesn't know what to say. And she like kind of like rejects the idea a little bit. She drops a plate and she starts being upset. She's like, basically, Mom, I don't want to spend my birthday, you know, in a mental hospital. And then the mom agrees, like, okay, well, this probably should be okay. You going out there for your 17th birthday. And I agree, you shouldn't be spending your birthday in the hospital. So now she's on the phone. The mom tells her to go to sleep. It's a school night. Remember those, everybody? Go to sleep. It's a school night. Hanging out on the phone. All you youngsters don't know about that. Even though, like, when I was young and stuff, like, yeah, we still had, like, you know, house phones. But they were, like, they were the cordless ones. All right? So you can kind of sneak those ones around a little bit better than you can with the one with the cord on them. All right? But nowadays, you can just FaceTime everybody. It's way different. It's crazy. All right, so she goes to sleep and stuff. She starts having more dreams about the... I don't even know what you call. I guess you call him the driller killer, but he was like some sort of like Elvis, fucking rock. How about we call him the rock drill? Okay, we got the rock drill killer on here. He's doing more dancing, and then she starts to dream of Matt again, and then she starts having more dreams of the girls in the car. So she's basically having dreams and stuff of what's about to kind of happen. It's like she's having dreams of her kissing Matt on the bed, the girls in the car, this hallway she keeps killing. We see more the cowboy boots from the drill rocker killer. All right, and then she wakes up and everything, and she can't go to sleep, so she listens to her own song and reads a magazine that's not Playgirl. Because you remember, wasn't this girl all about the Playgirl magazine in the first movie? I guess she got over that? And she had real boys? I have no idea. So now, then we see Valerie now on her dream. She's back to sleep. She wakes up and she goes back to sleep. We see Valerie in the dream, you know, hiding. Okay. So she's dreaming of Valerie in the hospital, and Valerie's saying, Courtney, don't go. All right. And then we get more evil like noises. That's what I wrote in my notes. So, and then Valerie hides under the bed. And then we have one of the first lines that our driller, rocker killer says, "Rock and roll will never die, baby." Which I don't know what is like. Is his motivation killing women because of rock and roll? I have no idea. Like I'm actually kind of like confused about what this killer's motivations were. Or maybe like he didn't really have any. Like maybe he felt like the Courtney's band wasn't like rock and roll enough. She's like, come on, brother, you're not using a double kick, all right? You're not using the thrash V guitar on here. Like, so he's just mad. I guess he just shows up. People don't like rock music. So now Courtney leaves with all the girls, and they're about to go head out to the parents' house for the slumber party weekend. That's what they said, the slumber party weekend. So they ask, they're talking about, they asked what school Valerie went to. And of course, Courtney has to lie because they don't want, she didn't tell her friends that her sister is in the mental hospital. Now Sally is reading a book, okay, called Hot, Wet, and Wild. Like, and it's an actual book. Like, you know, if you hear something that says Hot, Wet, and Wild, it's like a magazine or something. Like, this is like a book with words on it. Okay, and it's like the big book they were reading on this whole weekend. So Courtney starts daydreaming again, more dreaming. By the way, you guys want to take a shot every time I say daydream because you'll be drunk. So we like to play that game here on the Retro Blood sometimes. So we have kissing out here. The rock killers around there too. We see more guitar drills going on, and then we see a I put period bed, but it's a blood bed on there. So now the girls, they stop. Some of them are going to get some food. It's just Courtney and Sally in the car. All right. And then Courtney sees, it looks like a flashback of Valerie, dead, going out her window. And then she freaks out. And she was like, well, I was dreaming of my sister. That's what he tells Sally. So they arrive at the condo. Nobody's around the town. Okay. And they get unpacked. They're making a bunch of jokes. And then I believe it was Sally that told Sheila, you just wanted us to show up this weekend so we can rearrange this house. Ha ha ha. And then we have Courtney finding a blow-up doll. All right. Comedy, everybody. Oh, my God. So we find her having a blow-up doll. And Sheila now blames it on her brother. So you're telling me that her younger brother just randomly left a blood. The house is barely unpacked at all. There's barely any kind of furniture. But you got to bring that blow-up doll. But you know what? For a young teenage man, I can see that. You got your what do you get? We got Nintendo at this time. You got your heavy box TV. If you're lucky enough to get one of those with the little satellite ears, and you got your blow-up doll, and then you got your comics. That's all you really need as a young man. So they all eat corn dogs. This is the product placement stuff that we have in here. Pepsi and Diet Pepsi and corn dogs are your product placement for this extraordinary movie. All right, you know what? Hey, I like Pepsi, not the diet one though. That's for sure. Sugar free though. Don't hate me. So Sally says, because of her song, damn. Okay, the drummer. Okay, that they're gonna be famous because of her song. I was like, damn. Okay. And then Shelly's like, hey, a lot of families have a wine cellar. My family has a booze closet. I was like, you know what? Booze closet sounds pretty fun. Maybe I'll build me one of those. So they start drinking some booze, and now a song from Rock and Roll School comes on, and they all start dancing, and no shit, they all look like they were like auditioning for okay, I admit, I haven't been to a lot of slumber parties, sorry, but like when you dance, I'm pretty sure you won't be like, dancing to the camera. Because that's what they were all doing. But, maybe they're practicing. You know what I mean? Maybe their girl band, which I don't think they even said what their name was, unless I missed it. Maybe their girl band, maybe they were just practicing their facials during this whole dance scene and stuff. So just the way they're like smiling for the camera, it was just funny. So now now we have two new dudes that show up. The new Beavis and Butthead on this turn. No, one of them did not look like Michael Keaton this time. All right. Even though these two act more like Beavis and Butthead than like the previous two. All right, especially the Jeff, I believe his name was, in the leather jacket. Oh yeah, he was. If you want to know what the writer and director Ms. Brock thought of young teenage boys, just look at Jeff. So the girls are dancing and everything. We actually see Sheila. This is the only time we actually see some tits in this film. And when I was watching the documentary, they were saying like a lot of these actresses were on here, but they just most of them refused to do nudity scenes, which I could respect. You know what I mean? We don't. I don't think in an 80s slasher, obviously, one of the big things that you see in 80s slashers, is tits and sex, drug use, smoking pot, drinking beer, a lot of nudity, chasing people down when they're nude and stuff by the killer. That's one of the big, they even brought it up in stream, obviously if you have sex in a horror movie, you're going to die, but we don't, you don't need that for every horror film to have a great plot. But, they had a little bit of it on here. So there you go. All right. So now they hear a noise. So Sheila goes into the kitchen. She sees like the fridge is open. And this is when we have TJ. My bad. I got the name wrong. TJ is the one with the leather jacket. My bad. So TJ. Jeff is like his Beavis character. But he's a little bit more straight lace. All right. They play a joke. All right, and then TJ, he's wanting to sex Sheila up tonight. Okay, so now Amy and Courtney, all right, they can't sleep because TJ's too busy pounding that fucking Sheila down. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? Having some 80s sex in there, brother. All right, so Courtney starts dreaming again. There you go, taking another shot. All right, and she's dreaming of Matt first. The shirtless wonder himself. And then we get the driller killer rock and roll guy saying, and then he like shows up and stuff and he's saying like, hey, you killed Valerie. All right. And he's all like, oh, I had Valerie. I tried her. All right. And I don't want Valerie anymore. I want you. I want to make love to you. So she runs away from him. And then she eventually wakes up on the kitchen floor. So she's the only one that's having these nightmare. You know how like in Nightmare on Elm Street, all the kids, that are on the Elm Street have the dreams? No. Courtney's the only one that gets the dreams on here. So they're by the pool. And Courtney and Amy tell her about, Courtney is telling Amy about her dreams that she was having of her sister being killed and stuff. And like about this like rocker dude. And Amy just says, like, well, I read about this. You could just be, because of the trauma that you had when you were a kid, you could just be projecting all this happen. Like, when you have dreams, you just think, you're projecting all of it. All right. So now TJ does a cannonball with the blow-up doll. Okay. And Jeff and Sheila are showing up. All right. TJ calls the girls all uptight and everything. And TJ's playing with the blow-up doll. And then Courtney's head is hurting now. And then he's saying that, well, I could fix the your headache and stuff. And he just throws her ass in the pool. And I guess she has more dreams in the pool. There's another more dreams of the rocker driller killer in the pool. Jeff brings her up. And he apologizes for her because she looks like she's about to drown. So now Sally wakes Courtney up. And they all think basically it's just a hangover. All right, because last time, remember, they're all drinking the booze from the booze closet. It was all just a fucking hangover. All right. It sounds like, well, I'm not even feeling myself, today too. It's like, look at my face. It's all red. I got this big pimple going on. All right. And she tells her, like, hey, we got lunch by the pool. All right. She's like, come out to the pool. We got some lunch there. So now Jeff, he's all interested in the Hot and Wild book. All right, so now TJ, he reads some passages from the Hot and Wild book. Yes, compelling stuff, everybody, over here. All right. So now Courtney sees, so Courtney, now she's about to have her hamburger, But there's a fake plastic hand in her hamburger, so she freaks out on it. And of course, we cut, and there's no hand in there. She's just seeing it, and everybody thinks she's acting a little weird, and that she's still hungover. So, I've been hungover in my days. You know what I mean? So, I'm not sure if I ever saw a hand while I was hungover, but, obviously this is because of the trauma that she had. But in real life, it's because of our rocker driller Freddy clone character, I guess. So she, is all freaked out about that now, and she's leaving. So now, before she leaves, she gets offered a chicken sandwich, and Jeff and Amy, they're all laughing, and then we have some Diet Pepsi again. She's here. She can't get the dream out of her mind. Courtney can't. So Amy thinks, like I said, it was all the booze. Sally, she's singing more songs. All right. And some song about pie in the sky. I guess she's practicing some songs. Sheila's going to be doing some more sex with TJ. All right. Courtney's taking a bath now, and she hears the rocker drill guy laugh. Yeah, that stupid fucking laugh we had to hear the whole movie. Yeah. All right, and then there's some blood in the tub. All right, and there's blood spilling all over the tub. She grabs Sally to come see it, and then Sally, all she sees is the water overflowing. She's like, "Well, what's going on with you?" And Courtney's all upset. And then Sally's complaining about the zit on her face. All right, and now we can see that the zit is going bigger on her face. And it eventually pops out. Like they cut and they see it, the big zit on her face. Then they cut again and it's like taking more of her face. Then they cut and there's it just spews the zit stuff all over Courtney's face. And she runs out of there. She runs into Matt. He's finally here. Because I forgot to mention, like, Matt, he was going to show up to the party, but he couldn't show up until late because he had a prior engagement. So he's here now, and she's like, hey, something's happening to Sally up here. And then Matt and then TJ and Jeff all go up there, and they all think it's a joke. Everything's a joke in 80s. Oh, it's all a joke. Everything's a joke. But they don't see Sally. She's gone. Okay, she's all gone. So now TJ thinks that Courtney is taking too much of those diet pills. That's what's making her freak out loud, is these diet pills. I'll tell you a little story on here, everybody. So, I'm a workout guy. I like to work out a lot. You know what I mean? And I remember taking this one diet pill. Like, I can't even remember the name of it. Fuck. It's like this purple diet pill. All right? And this shit was so strong. Like, I remember taking like 2 of those or something. And even after a workout, I could not go to sleep. Like, they made my fucking hands, palm, and sweat and everything. And I swear I took like 2 of those, and I took another 2, and I was like literally up for like 2 days. Which is probably not healthy at all. Like, fucking, and to be honest with you, after that, fucking, man, I might have been seeing some shit. Maybe I been saw some driller killer dude stalking me and singing some Elvis songs on me. You know what I mean? But yeah, don't fuck around with them diet pills, everybody. That shit was pretty wild. I don't know if they even sell those ones anymore. I can't remember the name, so off the top of my head. All right, so now the guys tell the girls who are waiting downstairs. They'll say, well, they didn't see anything. Courtney's like, well, I'm not crazy. It's like, I don't know about that, girl. You seem a little crazy. But they all can't find Sally, though. All right, TJ thinks it's stupid. Says Sally, she's probably just out, getting some more booze or something, or getting some drinks. I don't think she could buy the booze. Matt tells Courtney to, lay down, maybe, just calm down. And then Matt's gonna, they hear the trash compactor going, okay, and they're like, well, who turned it on? It wasn't on when I was here. And they all thought, oh shit, maybe Sally's in the trash compactor, so they call up the cop. So this is when we get Officer Kruger. And he's all like, basically explaining the whole movie. So what you're telling me is you saw your friend up there, her face exploded, and you all think she's in the trash compactor. Do I got that right? She's like, yes. He's like, don't ever call me again, you punk kids. All right, I'm not coming out here for no reason. You just wasted $200 of taxpayer money. I was like, $200 of taxpayer, brother? Well, how much is it now then? All right, if it was $200 in 1988, all right, how much fucking is it gonna be in 2024? Like, what is it, 4,000 now? When the cops come over here to talk about teens possibly being in the garbage chute, all right, or the trash compactor. All right, so now Kruger's like, he threatens the kid, don't call me again and don't play around with me. And then Courtney's all upset and the cop leaves. And they don't, well, the cops, she's all upset and stuff. And she's like, well, I'm not crazy and everything. And then Sally eventually comes back. Okay. And they're like, hey, are you Sally? She's like, yes. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I went out to go get a drink and I met some dude while I was out here. And I'll bring this up too. So, when Sally comes in, like I was saying, like she would just went out she actually legit went out for a drink. All right. And she said she took a long time because she met a dude. Now, I thought that this was going to be the introduction to us with the drill killer. Because that would make sense. Because Sally, she seemed like she would like some of them rocker dudes. You know what I mean? Like, this guy wasn't like, biker. He was kind of like that 50. He's kind of like what a 50s rocker would look like. You know what I mean? Like the very tight leather, like a very like Elvis impersonator, rock and roll dude. You know what I mean? And I could see Sally falling for something like that. So I thought that's how he was going to introduce, but no, it was just some dude that she just brought up and we never saw him again. Okay. Or never heard about the dude that she found. So I thought they kind of missed the plot line with that, in my view. I thought it could have made it look a little bit more like, because, like it could have made it feel like, okay, maybe Courtney was, she had such a trauma and stuff for maybe whatever medication was taken or for it or whatever, that she might have been was projecting all these images, and maybe she can kind of see into the future. And one of the futures she could see was that this guy that Sally brought to the party was actually a serial killer and he was going to kill them all. All right. But that didn't happen. He just kind of just appeared. So I thought they could have made it a little bit more creepier that way, that she, knows what's going to happen at the slumber party before it happened, because she just has that foresight, except it being like her, her just being haunted by this driller killer. And yes, I know that the ending, and I'll talk about that soon, of my thoughts on the ending and how you can take it or which way the movie went. Okay. So the cop leaves. He tells, don't call me again. All right, y'all, you fucking assholes. Okay. So he all leaves. So now everybody's like, basically, they don't really know what to think of Courtney anymore, because she's all upset and everything. She's all crying because she knows what she saw, but nobody's believing her. So everybody's gonna leave for food, and Matt is gonna bring Courtney. She goes upstairs. He goes upstairs with her, and he brings her a cake for her birthday. And she does a line. He's like, "Hey, make a wish." And she's all like, "I already have my wish." "Ooh, you're in, brother." All right. And he's like, "Oh, I don't think you're crazy." All right. I bet he did though. You know what I mean? I could tell he did. He's like, I don't care if she's crazy. I'm still going to try to get me some ass. All right. So he doesn't think she's crazy. And he knows about her trauma. All right. And, he knows about her and his sister, and that killer with the drill. All right. Which is another plot line we could have brought up too. Maybe Matt was working with the killer, but no, it wasn't. Because, this one, there's no like I think they only wanted to do like one kind of like plot thinking during the movie, not like many. So they kiss. Everybody comes back home now, and then TJ and the rest are now playing, and Matt and Courtney, they're kissing on the bed like her dream. And then she says, she's never gone all the way. And then out of nowhere, the rock driller guy shows up. All right, and then he drills and stabs Matt right in the chest, and he drills him. Okay, and then he drilled him so hard that he cut his hand off, and he throws the hand on him. All right, and she's like, "What? No, you're a dream." It's like, "Do I look like a dream?" So instead of like Sally bringing this guy in, him actually being the killer? No, he just appeared out of thin air right before Courtney was going to think about having some sex or not. Okay? So she's, obviously freaking out, and she's coming down the stairs screaming. Everybody's looking at her like, what the hell? This girl's going crazy again. But then the guitar drill guy actually shows up, and everybody's all like, oh shit. Wait a minute. This girl's not crazy. There actually is a killer dude around here. All right. So TJ starts fighting the driller guitar killer dude, and then Jeff tries to call the police, but he basically can't. All right. And then when they all run out of there, like TJ gets away and they all leave Sally alone. And eventually, Jeff's trying to call up, and then the driller killer drills Sally in the stomach while they're on the phone, and it goes through and it breaks, not only kills Sally, but also gets the phone too. And then we have two groups kind of splitting off. We have TJ and Shelly. They escape to the car. All right. And they get into the car, but they're like, oh shit, I don't have the keys. So they have to go back inside, all right, and get the keys. Jeff, Courtney, and Amy, okay, and they're outside too, and it's like, hey, was that the killer guy from your dreams? All right. And she was like, yeah, that was the guy who was in my dreams and stuff, killing people. All right, so now Jeff has to get the keys off the table. He does, and he just waits around to see Sheila's dead body because they have to go out the front door to get to the car. All right, and Jeff says like, hey, if I find TJ and Sheila, you know what I mean, I will, we'll pick them up later, but we got to get out of here right now. Okay, so Jeff gets the keys. There's blood. There's a little blood on the floor. There's all the blood's around there. Sally's dead. They walk over from the dead. They walk over to the dead body, and they get to their front door, and then they get in the car. It doesn't start for a little bit, and they just head off. Easy. All right. So now the rocker driller guy. All right. He shows up while they're driving in the car, and he drills Jeff from behind. That might have been a different movie. Y'all might have been seeing drilling Jeff from behind on there. So he's gone. All right. And he does the line, oh, I love you. Interesting. So TJ, Sheila, they see a house with lights on. All right. And TJ's, his leg is all fucked up from that fight that he had with the driller killer. Sheila knocks on the door. They can't hear anything. The TV's too loud. Whoever's at the place couldn't hear anything because the TV's too loud. The driller killer finds them, okay, and the driller guy eventually kills TJ. Sheila gets out of there, and after he's killing the guy answers his door and says, damn kids. And then, while the driller killer kills drilling Jeff in the car, the other girls escaped, while he was doing that. So that's how they got out of there. So now Courtney, she gets back to the house, and she's trying to find another phone that will call the police, and she finds another one, and the police were like, they don't believe her. They think it's all a joke, so they don't call the number again. All right, so they get all pissed off. So now we have Sheila. She runs and hides as well too. She's like outside, and then Courtney and Amy, they're waiting in a room. They kind of like hide out from the killer too. And then Sheila shows up to the house, and she goes upstairs, and then we hear the rocker driller. He comes in there, starts dancing, the lights on, and he's like, time for the fun party. And he does a bunch of Elvis moves, and he starts singing. And then he's like singing while playing the guitar with the drill on it. Singing and laughing, yeah, and like, let's buzz. And then eventually he finds Sheila, and then Sheila gets drilled. All right? Guitar drilled while singing and dancing. Ha ha ha, scary. So he gets into the room. The girls escape on the roof. All right, so we have Amy and Courtney. They're the only two left. And they escape on the roof. Rocker guy goes on the roof. Girls get off roof. They run down the side of the house that looks like a this fucking house is like, look fucking huge. Even though we only saw like, what, 3 rooms or something? Alright. And then the rocker guy says, he can't get no satisfaction. Oh. Just imagine that. I mean, is that like... I mean, a rock... That's... Okay. It's just a very interesting choice of a killer here. Like, I don't know how that, like, plays along with anything that happened from... Like, I thought maybe that this would have been, like, the son of the Ross killer or something. Maybe his son... the only thing I could think of, too, is, like I talked about earlier, maybe it was, like, the son of Sam. That's the only thing I could think of. You know what I mean? Because maybe he had, like, more of that satanic, like, look or something. It's just a very interesting choice of killers when it comes to this driller killer. So both girls, Amy and Courtney, they go to a new house build that's going on. And they're trying to run away. And eventually the driller guy, he kind of like runs up a little to him. And he cuts a little Amy. And they keep running and escaping. And they're running through the house. And they hide like on the second floor. They hide from the driller killer. But Amy's back is dripping blood. So eventually drips blood onto the rocker guy's face. So he knows where they're hiding out upstairs now. They run some more. And then Amy almost falls out on the side of the house. And Courtney has to grab her and stuff. And then when she's grabbing her and holding her on tight, the driller killer just runs and breaks it up. And this is when we have Amy. She basically falls down to her death. From the, what is it, 2 stories? It looked like maybe 2 stories. You know what I mean? Right in the concrete. So Courtney runs away. The killer's dancing again. Okay. And then we have a bunch of flashbacks of all the killings he did. So we have to show everybody all the killings he did. Killing TJ, killing Jeff. You know what I mean? Killing them all. Sheila on there, Sally, getting them all down. Now, you know, he's back. He kind of cornered. Now we have a lot of running, obviously. Because we had to have running through the 80s movies. But he finally corners her. And his closing line was, "Come on, baby, light my fire." And she's like, okay. So she grabs a blowtorch. And then Lily lights him on fire. All right. And then he randomly falls to the ground from the second story too. And then it's just the next morning right now. All right. And they're taking these bodies away. They take Amy first and they uncover her mouth and she seems like she's laughing. She's doing the same kind of laugh that the killer was. Yeah, that stupid laugh. Then we have Courtney. Now she wakes up next to Matt. Okay. And she kisses Matt. Okay. And then the Matt randomly turns into the rocker guy saying, "I love you." And then now we have another swerve, where Courtney wakes up in the same hospital that Valerie is in. And we see the drill pop through the floor. And now she's screaming while the drilling is all happening. And that ends the movie for y'all. So, you know, obviously the ending was supposed to be up to us to what it could have been. You know, it could have been all this events happened that made Courtney go insane, where she had to be in the same hospital as Valerie because she basically got traumatized again. Or it could have been all in her mind from the original story, but it's all just made up in her mind in the actual hospital itself. So I think it would have made a lot more sense, like I said, if the rocker driller son of Sam killer guy showed up with Sally to be the boyfriend that she found, because that would have gave him an in inside the house. And then we have Courtney freaking out about him and stuff. He could have been like, I don't know why she's freaking out. And then, you know, they could have had a couple scenes of Matt and her talking like, hey, don't worry about him. He's just some random dude. It's like, no, that's the dude. He's like, no, he's just some dude that Sally met. You know, they're all, you know, he doesn't even know we've seen us before, nothing. She's like, well, I can't stay here if he is. He's like, okay, well, we'll leave. And then they start making out and kissing everything. And then we can show that the guy actually was a killer, so he can start attacking the kids downstairs, and then he makes his way up to Matt. That's what I kind of would have done to kind of like made it more humanized, I guess you'd say. But you know what, brother? Fuck it. We just have some sort of Freddy Krueger dream rock and roll Elvis killer guy showing up and stabbing people. That's all you need. All right? Come on now. Let's not make it, difficult. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm going to give this one a pass. I don't think I enjoyed this one too much. It had some, okay moments, but, I just thought all, the characters were just, kind of unlikable. You know what I mean? I guess the Sally character, she was okay. She seemed kind of realistic, but all these other ones are just kind of annoying. I liked the realism when it came to the first movie a lot better than this particular film. But you know what? Tell me what you guys think. Give us a comment on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I post all these episodes to YouTube. Soon we're going to be doing some video. All right, we were planning on doing it for this month, but, Allison, he got a little ill. So, it took him out. So maybe a month or two, we'll start doing some video for y'all too. But you guys can find all the episodes on YouTube, all the podcast apps, Apple, Spotify, all of them on there. Check out the Facebook page for all the updates, Instagram for all the updates. Check it all out, everybody. All right. And check us out and me out next week, because we are continuing this Slumber Party Month, because we are going to be talking the last slumber party. Boy. That's right. Y'all think you're having great slumber parties out there. Now, this is the last one you'll ever have. All right? We're going to see some more dreams. In this one, we're going to see a escaped mental patient that wears doctor surgery, nip tuck the style surgery outfits, and terrorizing his girls in their house. So join us here next week on the Retro Blood, continuing the Slumber Party Month here on the Retro Blood, as we're going to be talking all about the last summer party. So that should be pretty interesting. We'll see which one's better. But everybody, thanks for joining me here on Slumber Party Massacre 2. Hope you all enjoyed it. And I will see you here next week.